Hi, I'm Miss Hearn. Let's get started. In this video, we're going to look at an application of linear equations in two variables. You've probably seen linear equations in two variables like 5x plus 10y equals 13 or y equals 4x minus 9. But linear equations don't have to be x's and y's. They can have variables like a and b, or any variables really. The defining characteristic is that there's no exponent on the variables, no square roots, nothing weird, basically. They can be multiplied by numbers and added and subtracted, but other than that, there's no operations going on. We're going to look at an application problem where we're going to write our own linear equation in two variables that relates to values. And one of the things we'll observe is that if we write our equation in slope-intercept form, which you might remember y equals mx plus b, then there's a significance to the values of the slope, which is the number in front of x there, the coefficient of x, and there's a significance to the y-intercept, which is b, that's the constant term, when we look at our application problem. We are told that a ballet school charges a student $20 to register and $15 for each class the student takes. Let C be the variable representing the cost to the student and N represent the number of ballet classes. We're going to write an equation relating C, the cost, to N, the number of classes. And then we're going to use that equation to find the total cost of 11 classes. So when you're first trying to write an equation relating to variables, first think of some sample values. So what I mean by that is if you went to the ballet class and you were going to sign up for one ballet class, how much would it cost you? Well, it would cost you $20 to register, plus it would cost you $15 for that one class. So you'd be looking at a total of $35. If you were to take two ballet classes, you'd have that $20 registration fee plus 2 times 15 to pay for the two $15 classes, and you would end up getting a bill for 20 plus 30 is $50. But it's not really the final bill that I want you to pay attention to. I want you to try to see a pattern in how we calculate the bill. So let's continue and think about 3 ballet classes. So we'd pay the $20 registration fee, plus we'd have 3 times 15. That's going to end up being $65. But again, we're going to focus on this pattern here. Do we start to see a pattern emerging on how we calculate? Is there a relationship between the number of classes and how we calculate the cost? So let's look at one more. What if we were to take 10 ballet classes? So if we were to take 10 ballet classes, we would have $20 plus we'd have to pay 10 times that $15 fee per class. And what if we had to take N ballet classes? What would the cost be then? Well, it would be $20 plus N times that $15 per class. Now remember, this is our cost, C, this column. So our cost in general is going to be 20 plus 15 times N. This gives us a linear equation that relates the cost to the number of ballet classes. So that in general, if we wanted to find the cost for a certain number of ballet classes, we could plug in the value of N. So they asked us once we found the equation to find the cost of 11 classes. So we're going ahead and plug that in. We have C equals 20 plus 15 times 11, which would be $185. So now let's take that equation, C equals 20 plus 15n, and let's write it in slope-intercept form. So how do we do that? Well, we already have one of the variables isolated. That's the c. So that's going to be like our y equals part. And then we have a constant term. That's going to be our b. And then we have coefficient in front of a variable n. So that's like our mx term. So if we just rearrange the two terms and write it as 15n plus 20, now it matches up with our slope-intercept form. So we have our slope is the 15. Now you remember the $15 was the cost per class. In other words, it's the rate at which our cost is increasing each time we increase the number of classes by 1. And the $20, our y-intercept, was the fixed cost that you had to pay up front when you've taken 0 classes. Now let's suppose that C and N represented the same values, the cost of ballet classes and the number of ballet classes. But I told you that the relationship between them was actually C equals 20N. How would we interpret this cost to number of classes relationship? Well, in this case, the slope would be 20. So that would be $20 as the cost per class. And what would the y-intercept be? There's nothing written here. That's the same as saying that we have a y-intercept of 0. So what that tells us is that there's no sign-up cost, no fixed cost for 0 classes. Or let's suppose I told you that the cost for ballet classes was going to be 5N plus 75. Do you know what the cost per class would be and what the fixed cost at 0 classes would be? If you said $5 per class and $75 for the fixed cost for 0 classes, you would be right. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. That'll help other students to find the video.